আলাইকুম সুধীবৃন্দ, আপনারা যে যেখানে আছেন, ভেলোর অফ বাংলাদেশ থেকে অভিনন্দন জানাচ্ছি। শুভ সন্ধ্যা, গুড ইভিনিং, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আমরা আজকে আবারও ফিরে এসেছি আমাদের ষষ্ঠতম with the sixth episode of UCB presents Meet the Maestro session নিয়ে, যেখানে আমরা আজকে আরেকজন ম্যাস্ট্রোর সাথে পরিচিত হব, আরেকজন এক্সপার্টের সাথে পরিচিত হব, যিনি ওনার ফিল্ডে কিভাবে করে সফল হয়েছেন এবং at the same time উনি কিভাবে করে ওনার যে ফিল্ড সেখানে উনি সামনে বাংলাদেশে কি দেখছেন, কি ধরনের অবস্থা দেখছেন, এবং সেটা নিয়ে আমরা একটু আলাপ করব। তো তার আগে আমি একটু পরিচয় করিয়ে দিতে চাই আমাদের সাথে যে গেস্ট আছেন, যে এক্সপার্ট আছেন। ওনার নাম হচ্ছে মিস্টার সাদ জাসিম। Mr. Saad Jassim is the Chief Human Resource Officer, British American Tobacco, Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum, Saad, and I welcome you to the sixth episode of Velour of Bangladesh presents, UCB presents Meet the Maestro.
Thank you, Salaam Albab Bhai, and Salaam to the entire audience. Thank you for being so kind in my introduction. I'm just very happy to be here talking to you and the audience.
In fact, this is again for the audience. I must tell you that he is probably one of the most achieved CXO in the history of British American Tobacco. And you know, we always say that British American Tobacco are the manufacturers of CXOs, and probably he is an ideal example who has come from a territory officer to the level of Chief Human Resource Officer at a span of only 15 years. And that, I would say, a great achievement, a great feat. And congratulations, Saad, on this. So in respect to that, I would like to, the audience would like to hear a bit about you, what your passion is, what you do, and what has brought you to this profession. Please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Albab Bhai. I think first of all is extremely generous of you for all the kind words. So my name is Saad, obviously. I'm a graduate from Bangladesh. I studied in University of Dhaka, Institute of Business Administration. And then I joined this organization almost 16 years ago as a fresh graduate, territory officer in marketing. Two of the most fantastic years of my life. I got out of my comfort zone, went to a different city in the country, outside of home, outside of family. And I really got to get an experience of what Bangladesh is outside of Dhaka. I think those were very crucial, formative 2 years for my own personal growth. The rest of it was pretty much standard thing. BAT, one of the things that we are very grateful for is generations of leaders before us have paved a great way. There are lots of great leaders out there who have created BAT, who have created the systems that we have, that we enjoy today, and they have created the processes jate kore young people like us can continue to grow. It's a very young organization. It's a very successful organization, but it's a very young organization at the same time. So we've got this amazing mantra where we see young people, and if they do well, we pick them up. And I'm just a product of that policy, of that principle and that process. There's nothing special. I'm not the only one, and I'm by far by no means the most successful CXO. There have been many other CXOs who are even more successful than me. I'm just one of the products of this great organization. Personally, I'm married, closing in on 12 years of marriage, have 3 wonderful little children, ranging from the ages of 9 to the ages of 3. So mashallah, I have to say I'm blessed both professionally as well as personally. And I think I'm a strong believer in hard work, running the hard yard, getting out of your comfort zone and learning, and pushing yourself. If you're not learning, if you're stagnant, if you're bored, then you're inviting your eventual demise from a career prospect perspective. So I continuously believe that you have to push yourself for going into areas that make you uncomfortable if you really want to grow. And in this organization, we are very good at providing that. I have been a beneficiary of that, and I actively look forward to ensuring that my team members get a similar experience so that they can too grow very fast.
Thank you, Saad. I would like to compliment that as far as British American Tobacco Bangladesh is concerned. Uh, what I have seen is it's not definitely the when you recruit, you recruit the best, but at the same time, it's irrespective of the academic background, the agenda that you have, how you manifest it, is actually creating the right leader. And our present uh, managing director and CEO of British American Tobacco is the first Bangladeshi to be in that position, Mr. Shehzad Munim, who is, of course, one of my schoolmates as well, which I take pride in as well, Josephite. So, so it has proven, and in this context, we are going to have this discussion. This is also for the audience that they would also like to know on this perspective that what we are going to discuss. So let me straight away go to the session and give a little intro for the benefit of the audience. Is that Bangladesh has seen a rapid digital transformation over the last 1.5 years. It has been staggeringly transforming, but the rapid transformation, the digitization, the technological advancement, adaptation that has taken place over the last 1.5 year is phenomenal. Now, it is known that Bangladesh academia is very much into limiting themselves to creating graduates, not truly role ready people to reach out to the corporates and start to play their role. Whereby a lot of organizations, when they recruit, they develop them, they nurture them, and like for itself, British American Tobacco and other multinationals here, that's what they're doing. Now, from that perspective, you also being an IBA, as the country emerges as a digital economy, towards a digital economy, how well is the infrastructure equipped to now produce digital talents? That's number one. Number two is, what is that those corporates who does not have program or infrastructure as strong multinationals as you are to really create these digital talents? That's number two. And number three is, what is that you see the opportunities as well as the challenges going forward in Bangladesh while these digital talents are being created, nurtured, harnessed? Thank you. Over to Saad.
Thank you, Albab. I think I'll cover all the three questions that you've asked, and I have a small PowerPoint presentation which structurizes me and helps me to talk in a coherent manner. So, with your permission, I'll share the slides, and then
The screen
I'll
is over to
speak
you.
based on that.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'll take leave for the time being. Once you're finished, I'll come back. Thank
Okay.
you, Saad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So I think the topic that on hand that we're discussing today is academia and digital talent. And I think while we talk about academia and digital talent, there's more than just academia that's involved over here. And I will touch on who are all the different stakeholders that can play a very vital role. To start off with, I have to say that there are many very positives in Bangladesh. If you look at the industry, that we are now getting a lot of revenue from various businesses that have emerged over the last decade or so, both from business process outsourcing BPOs as well as from software development and app development, it's very encouraging. And the reason why it's encouraging is that this really helps us to get the dividend of our young population, very young and very talented population, in getting a lot of revenue and business coming from around the world. I genuinely believe this can become a very big potential export earner for us as a country. Now, that's not my area of expertise, and I'd probably rely more on the experts who work with software development and the BPO industry to be able to talk more on there. Where I'll come from is from a perspective of a standard organization or traditional organization like an FMCG, or from banking or from telecom, and the way the landscape is shifting in terms of what are the requirements from talent when it comes to digital capabilities in today's world. And it's evolving, right? So 16 years ago when I graduated and I joined this organization, the basic expectation that my organization would have from me is, can I operate the basic tools on Microsoft Office, such as Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and then that too not to a very advanced level. And that's it. The rest of it was taught in the organization, and you learn over time. But as time moves on, organizations are changing the landscape in how we work. So if I look at today, there is obviously a specialized area of skill that is very important in our country, both from a data science perspective as well as from programming and coding. And these are specialized. These are not things that you can just go in and dabble a bit and learn. And they require a lot of infrastructural support and a lot of formal education and practice to be able to do that. So I'll leave that aside. But if I look at a standard person, be you a business graduate or an engineer or someone who's studying in life sciences and joining an organization, the suite of technical and digital capabilities we need today are fundamentally different. So when it comes to Microsoft Office, businesses now expect that graduates are able to operate the Microsoft Office tools at an advanced level. But not just there. Beyond that, today when it comes to data visualization, people are expected to understand how to use Power BI, look at the various data points, and it's not just taking data from one Excel file, putting it on one, and then creating a chart. You have to have an automated mechanism of where the data sources come in and how that is put up into charts, into dashboards that then can be used for decision making, right? In the organization today, we are expected to do our own workflow automations. That means using PowerPoint, Microsoft tools, create workflows that require very low coding capabilities or almost no coding capabilities. And that's required for us to be able to do our jobs as it is. If you go to many other countries, you're required to even know a certain degree of coding to be able to do your job in those organizations. Data analytics and digital marketing has become very, very important. So if you're a marketeer and if you don't understand what is required when it comes to digital marketing, how do you do targeting, how do you do geofencing, and a lot of other those elements, you will struggle in today's marketing, because so many organizations focus so much on the digital footprint, on social media capabilities, on social media campaigns. It's almost expected that we all should know how this thing works. Almost all organizations today are moving into some sort of automation with enterprise resource planning tools, from the very basic thing as a sales process to payroll processing to much more advanced demand forecasting tools that are out there. And while you don't need to be an expert in knowing how to develop these ERP solutions, we are expected to understand how they work and to be able to utilize them in our day-to-day work. And if COVID has taught us anything, is a rapid migration from working 100% face-to-face in meeting rooms, in conference rooms, to a massive shift in virtual collaboration tools. I mean, Google Meet, Facebook, your Zoom, Microsoft Teams, these have existed for quite some time. But the way they have become used in the last 1.5 years is phenomenal. And it's not just that. Today, everything is on cloud. You're doing SharePoint, you're doing collaboration. We're even facilitating trainings and brainstorming sessions virtually using various tools. In BAT, we use something called Miro Board, where you can get people from different parts of the world connecting in and talking on one topic and brainstorming on a topic. And then it's all happening real time. And these have now become very important requirements for anyone, be you a fresh graduate or an experienced professional, for you to excel in your career. Now, where the difference is when we go back to our academia, um, our academia is not necessarily focusing on these areas with a lot of emphasis, right? Uh, to be fair, it's not like there has been a specialized focus even in the past with these skills. Uh, but this is now moving in such a fast pace with the requirements outpacing what is taught in academia that it's almost become a self-driven initiative. So we get a lot of graduates that we hire today, and one of the things that they do is they're self-driven. So they go on to various digital platforms, Coursera, Udemy, and others, and they build these capabilities. They learn them by themselves. And that is something that has to be an element of self-development. I think our universities do a very good job in creating graduates, moldable people with good potential and understanding who then the businesses can take and grow into future leaders. I do believe that there is an area where the academia can also intervene and make this better, and I'll come to that. But I also believe it has to come from within. There is only so much that can be taught to an individual. There has to be a drive and a motivation, an intent to learn things that matter to you. And that's part of the solution that I'm also going to talk about today. And that's also part of the solution that we did in our organization. So if I give a bit of an insight into how our organization approaches having digital talent and building digital talent, it's based on a couple of factors. One is obviously having digital learning, right? We do a lot of emphasis on creating trainings and developments and bringing in speakers and talking about various types of digital interventions that any individual can do by themselves. We focused on just last month on using UI paths, using Microsoft Power Tools like Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate, and we created a program called the Citizen Developer Program. And that program was around using very basic features of Microsoft Power Apps. How do you create your own automated workflows? You do not need to have any coding capability for that. And the great thing is we had a lot of interest from, say, BAT Bangladesh. There were over 50 people who created apps and they do not have a IT background. We had people who are in the factory who are working, and they created an app that was going to make their own life simpler and to automate a work process. It's that easy. You just need a structured approach whereby you can have some experts who can coach you and guide you. And even without having a coding experience, you can create your own app. Microsoft does allow those things, right? So we emphasize a lot on those. We even have our own learning platform that we call the Grid, where we can connect all the virtual learning resources that's there, be it on YouTube, be it on Harvard Business Review, be it on LinkedIn Learning. All of those things are connected on a grid. And it's like the Facebook of learning app. So for us, even learning is on digital. So if you want to go and learn something, you go on your tool that's digital on your phone or on your laptop, and you can have access to all the learning you need. So one aspect is very much focusing on digital learning. That's how we as an organization focus. The other bit is living digital or fostering digital. Think digital on our day to day, right? There is a manual way we can do things, but there is an automated way that we can do things. And we've been focusing on having digital solutions all across our business, not because it's a digital thing and it's cool to have, but because it adds a lot of value. Say, for instance, our sales process is entirely automated and digitized, and that's something we worked with local app developers to create over here. We have our own chatbot for policies, for policy discussion. Our payroll process is automated, including our sentiment. Every 2 years, we collect the sentiment within the organization. We understand what is the pulse from the organization. That too is done digitally today. So the first mindset, and this is important, I'll come back to this, is how do you foster a digital approach to every solution? Just last week, I was looking at a project that two of the team members that were doing that I have in VAT Bangladesh were working on, and it's a very simple thing. How do you manage a medical claim process from manually doing it to creating bots which don't need a whole lot of coding capability? You can do that with Microsoft Power Tools. And then how do you simplify that process and save a significant amount of time that someone would have to manually spend in going through those processes? That kind of thinking comes only when you think that there has to be a digital solution for simplification in everything that we do, right? And that's part of this ecosystem that we have in our organization that really helps. So if I have to say for the other organizations out there, I think work on both. And it's something that you have to start somewhere. So you have to create your digital learning interventions, start small, and you can build on them. And the other one is obviously fostering a digital approach to anything and everything that you can think about. We see the value in this because these automations really simplify the way we work, and that means with the same resources we can do more. We can free up people's time from doing the manual work, and they can focus on the value addition that really would bring more business, more results for the business than the manual work that needs to be done. It is important work, but it can be simplified. I know that there are a lot of organizations out there that are doing phenomenal work. I know that some of the telcos have fantastic solutions that they're working on. Some of the other fintech organizations also have a lot of great work out there. And BAT as an organization, we are playing our role. I don't think we're the best, but we definitely have a lot of good things that we are doing today. And honestly speaking, the way we see it when it comes to digital adaptation, the younger generation that's getting out of universities and coming in, they're picking it up a lot faster than obviously the more experienced people. But it is not something that people with our experience or even more have a difficulty in adapting to. I'll just give a very small snapshot of our HR team, my HR team in BAT Bangladesh. Now, we've been digital for a very, very long time. From the entire process of what we call acquisition, how do we hire talent? It's entirely digital, right? So the last 2 years, we've been running Battle of Minds, and Battle of Minds has been entirely done virtually in the last couple of years. So we've had to work with software developers. We have to work with creating our own virtual lobbies and platforms where we've connected. We've used social media. We've used other collaboration tools to connect graduates from the various universities and talk to them about the organization and Battle of Minds. And it was seamless. I think in some cases, we actually got more reach. We were able to connect with more people because we were doing it digitally. In our recruitment process, anyone that applies has to go through a number of steps that before their CV even pops up to us, such as Pi Matrix, which is a digital tool to assess individuals in various scenarios and provide us with the feedback. Uh, and all of these things that we're doing is a basic today, and many organizations are doing this. And it's really the future. And I don't think we've even gotten to the final stage. There are things that are being developed where the interviews are done virtually, and the algorithm will automatically tell you whether or not the individual is fit for your organization or not, or at the least what their strengths and what their development areas are, so that you can make a conscious choice when it comes to hiring. There are so many things, like I already talked about Miro, which is a tool that we use for brainstorming, where you can do live brainstorming just like you would do with a flip chart or a whiteboard in a meeting room. It is not the same, obviously, as a face-to-face conversation. Nothing is, but it has unlocked a lot of different things. Today, we do a lot of these discussions on Miro that we would not have been able to do unless we had adapted these online collaboration tools and these digital tools. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of where this is headed. If you go beyond Bangladesh and to some of the other countries, the expectation is much more, right? So if you're working, say, in a financial institution or a bank in USA, you are expected to know a certain degree of coding to develop your own algorithms, to do your own processing, right? We are going to get there very soon as a country. And if we do not, we will stay behind the curve when it comes to adapting to global best standards, right? Now then the question comes is, what can we do really, or what should the future look like, and what can I suggest maybe to the academia or even to the graduates who are coming into the workforce? The first thing is, it's not just the responsibility of the of the academia. I think there is a big responsibility of the academia over here, of the industry over here. In terms of clearly articulating what is expected, and how people can go about that, right? I mean, when we are getting graduates who are joining the job force, it's important for us to talk to the graduates and start from an early age, inculcating the idea about what are the capabilities that we really want them to build. Um, we've come a long way, like I said, when it comes to problem solving, logical thinking, having creative mindset, business process analysis. I see the graduates coming today when they participate in Battle of Minds. They have a very good idea about how a startup business model should be presented. So those are all very good things, and they have actually come a long way in that area. But we need to also, as industry, talk about what it is that we expect, and also provide a pathway on how the individuals can pick those up, right? Uh, then it comes down to the graduates who are going through the process, is that they need to think about being ready for the job market, not just getting a degree. So you can go through the 4 years or 5 years of university education and get the degree, or you can look at, all right, I have a degree, but what other skills do I pick up? Right? A lot of the graduates I see today are very focused on extracurricular activities. Yeah, so there are lots of student body clubs and associations which do a lot of great work, and you're doing that, and that's great. What I'd recommend is also just beyond that, think about the skills that you need for excelling in the workplace of tomorrow, not just in Bangladesh but beyond Bangladesh as well. And these learnings and these knowledges are not something that you need to go and get a separate degree for. I mean, you can get them all virtually. You can go to various courses on Coursera, Udemy, Curiosity Stream, and so many others, and learn those that you really want to learn. Yeah, and I can tell you that if you pick this skill, it's an investment that you definitely will not regret, and it will add a lot of value to you. When it comes to the universities, I would think that where it needs to start is to have a fostering digital as a process, and that means if there are manual processes in our universities, be it administrative, be it academic, how can we start moving them more and more virtual and connecting more people? When we start thinking virtually, you'll start to see that the solutions are going to come through and people will learn. They'll adapt much faster. And I mean, at the end of the day, last 1.5 years, almost all courses were done virtually. So you'll at least have to pick up one or two skills in virtual. So if that is a start, how can we keep building on this instead of now thinking that with the pandemic coming to a grind eventually, can we go back to 100% face to face, physical, and manual? What are the good things that we can learn? Certain good things we've learned about digital distance learning. Uh, can we keep that? Can we build more on it? Can we use those to simplify and automate things? Can we use them to reach out more, create more flexibility around learning? Right? Can we create, if you're talking about digital learning and you're doing it manually, there is an irony in that itself. So can we think about digital learning for digital learning, right? So if you really want to learn how to be digital, you got to do it digitally. So how can we think that in our universities, in the academia? Reverse mentoring is actually a very interesting concept that we've practiced in BAT Bangladesh, in BAT Group actually. So we had a lot of great talent around the world who are more digital native, who have a very good idea about what can be done by moving into virtual or digital technologies. And what we've done is created a system where senior managers are mentored by them in terms of how can you think differently from the old way of doing things to the new way of doing things. And I think there's an opportunity that we can apply even in the academia, and young graduates who are much more tech savvy, digitally capable, they can mentor the seniors. Then the younger professors can talk to the seniors, and we can get a better ecosystem of creating a more digital native organization or graduates. And finally, it comes to platforms where you can apply your digital skills and learning. Like I said, a lot of the learning is already there. Can you think about, say, for instance, creating a reason for graduates to use those platforms and pick up those skills? I know that as an organization, we're always looking for graduates who are coming into the workforce. And if you have these digital capabilities, that's an incentive, added incentive for us to hire you, because we know that you'll adapt in much faster, and you'll actually bring in far more interesting ideas that can help our business. So if we reverse engineer that backwards in the universities, can we have courses which require you to perform a uh, digitally based course or a digitally based project? Can you be provided access to or subscriptions to digital learning platforms so that you can use those platforms and pick up the skills? I mean, we can go very radical if we want to in terms of having course requirements that require you to pick up these skills and demonstrate a certain capability as well. But it depends upon how far you want to push the boundary on that one. So these, I think, are some of the things that I would recommend, that if we did these well, and even to a certain degree, we can actually get more dividend out of the graduates that we are getting into the workforce, because they will be far more capable digitally, and they will already be ahead of the curve when it comes to being global with their careers. So those, Albab Bhai, were my few points. And I think all I have to say is, here's to a better tomorrow that's more digital. Albab Bhai? Right. I think so. I'll just wait for maybe Albab Bhai to rejoin back. I think I finished what I had to share a bit earlier than was initially planned, I suppose. But yeah, I think just to summarize what I was saying in the interim is, we've got we've come a long way as a country when it comes to digital. I think that the graduates are doing a lot by themselves, and I think both the industry needs to come in and help. And there are things that the academia can do in terms of fostering digital, providing the right platforms, and encouraging the graduates to pick up this digital capability. But it has to be an integrated effort between the industry, the academia, as well as the graduates that are coming through, because you cannot be imparted a skill that you do not want yourself.
Right. Absolutely prolific. Thank you. A great deliberation. A few points have come out of it, Saad, which I have in my mind right now. And but before that, do we have any question from anywhere? Tanveen? Okay. If you have any questions, please share. Meanwhile, I have few points to discuss with Saad that I would like to start right now. Number one, Saad, I think before we really look at building this capacity, that is this digital capacity of these incumbents or the graduates, we have to look at we have to put the cart before the horse. So if you're looking at the infrastructure, i I think what is very important now is the industry or the academia should team up with organizations like yourselves, and there are few more in the country. There is Grameen Phone there, there is Robi there, and many other multinationals are there who are well equipped right now. So I don't think it's going to be very easy for the because the way the rapid change has taken place, I think it's not going to be easy for the academia industry uh, standing alone can impart this particular capacity building. So they have to team up with organization like yourselves. So what is your take on that?
I completely agree with you, Albab Bhai. At the end of the day, when you're talking about capabilities, you really have to see where the capability is really built. The capability is built when you practice it, when you apply it, right? So the reason why we focus so much on it is because we require that application. So we build that capability when someone joins our organization. Now, when a graduate is in a university, it's still not required of them today to deliver that capability or build that capability as a requirement to graduate. I think where the first thing that the industry needs to support the academia is in clearly articulating that this is what we need from graduates coming through. And by the way, this is how you can go about it. It's this level of capability that we're talking about for a standard organization, not a tech-driven organization, is not very difficult to build al Baqai, to be honest, right? So sometimes it can be as simple as providing a curated learning material that's virtually available to the graduates so that they can go through on their own time and build up these capabilities, right? Last month, many of our employees had were learned how to do very simple coding, no, sorry, workflow automation, and none of them had any coding capability. I had a clerk in my shipping go down whose academic qualification is not very significant. He was able to develop a app and a workflow simply by learning that process. So the capability that we need is important. It's not very difficult to build. Now, if you talk about, say, a software development or an app development business, that's a different field altogether. That's very specialized. But what the majority of our organizations need is people who understand a better level of digital capability than we started this our jobs, yeah. And that comes from UI parts, automations, ERP solutions, those areas which aren't very difficult. So the second bit of partnership that is required, I think, is in where academia also needs to perhaps think about fostering more digital. আমাদের একাডেমিয়াতে এখন অনেক কিছু আছে যেগুলো অনেক ম্যানুয়াল প্রসেসে চলে, রাইট? এন্ড আই থিঙ্ক গত 1.5 বছরে অনেক কিছুই ভার্চুয়ালি করতে হচ্ছে, বাট চ্যালেঞ্জ হচ্ছে কি যে আপনার when we are coming back from the pandemic it will again go back to manual. So can we retain some of the good things of the virtual? So if you stay digital and you work digital, you will build digital capabilities eventually. So that's the urge that I would do to the academia is foster the digital culture. Then the things will start to happen already.
Number two is, are you looking at a change in curriculum, or are you looking at additional programs or special programs that every academia should run?
I don't think we need to fundamentally change the curriculums. I mean, if I have gone through a 4-year business graduation program, so and I think what we were taught in those 4 years were very, very important to create the basics, right? Because when you join an organization, you almost learn from scratch all of those basics that you learned how they're applied, and you retain some, then you forget some, right? So I did go through my education on finance and accounting, but I've not had to apply them for the last 16 years. So I've more or less, that's now the back burner. I have very basic capability on that one. So you don't need to fundamentally change the curriculum in my view, but I think you can augment it, right? So most curriculums have computer education as part of the curriculum, right? Even in our university back in those days, we had 2 courses that focus on computer education or digital capability. It's about maybe modifying that instead of focusing on the basics of what is a hardware and a software. Maybe if it is as that simple, I don't think it is anymore, or even just basic Microsoft skills, Office tools. You can think about the more advanced ones, the Microsoft Power apps. You can talk about data visualization. I think the curriculum needs to be modernized in some areas. When we talk about marketing courses, we need to talk about digital marketing, social media campaigns, social media capabilities, because the older marketings of the 4 Ps, now social media is a place. So how do we use that? How do you do customer segmentation, psychographics? how do you understand interest groups using social media. That needs to be updated within the marketing courses within the curriculum, right? So it doesn't have to be a whole scale change,
Right.
but I think if you can augment it in some cases update it, that will serve the purposes of most of the organizations that are there. uh, that's my take on that, Allah.
Right. And also the local corporates and organizations should come forward as well, show that interest, that no, this is what is required. And that's a kind of a, it's a kind of a situation where the academia also needs to be pushed to incorporate these, augment this. Now, as you know, you have had this wonderful program of this Battle of Mind that has done so well, and through Battle of Mind, you have created, in fact, a lot of minds that are now out there in the corporate. I know one of them who has. I know a group of boys who was who did not win the Battle of Mind, but who were with Battle of Minds, and they went there into the finale or something like that. I don't know, but I can tell you this: one of them is in Bikash, one of them is in Unilever. It's the mindset at the end of the day. So while I'm talking about the mindset that changes when these boys go through this battle of mind, how would you say the mindset is? I mean, the difference is it agile mindset, or is it or how can you really define agile mindset in the local you know the in our uh, graduates who are coming out?
Now that's a very interesting question, Albab bhai. I think the way the work environment is changing in the last, if I think it's in the last 5 6 years that it's evolving faster in a concept of agile way of work. And an agile way of work is very different from the way of work we started when we started working, where you have a process, you have a meeting, you have individuals who are responsible for their own things, someone is following it up, and then so on and so forth. It's a very long process. It comes agile comes from software development industry, where people work in what are called sprints and scrums. All right. So everyone has their own individual pieces that they're working on in their sprints, and when they come back in the scrum or a huddle, they discuss what is the next iteration that they need to fix up in the sprint. So that's a different way of working. It's faster, it's much more intense, and it's much more focused. Right. And there is an application of using agile or a variation of agile in various works that we do. Most places that we operate today can actually use some form of agile. So say for instance our factory operates in a form of agile. We call it integrated work systems, which is a version of agile that actually applies to the factory workforce. So our employees, they meet up every morning at 8 a.m., discuss what are the top issues with the machineries. They decide which ones they're going to fix, what they're going to apply, and then they go back and work on it. And they come back and report with the results, right? Or if they have to do something differently. So that's another way of using agile. Now, when I'm talking about say Battle of Minds does force the individuals to work in an agile way for some to some extent, because it's a very condensed time in which they have to deliver a lot of things. So every individual has to be empowered to do their bit, and they have to do it proper, and they have to work on their own, and then they come back in the huddles, and then they see if they're on track, and then they go back out, right? So and that's we've intentionally been in evolving Battle of Minds over the last 18 years. We've been doing it now for 18 years. Yeah. So this was the 18th year of Battle of Minds. And I know the team that you're
Were
talking
you
about.
one
I
of
think that
them? Were you
no,
involved?
I was not. I was not a Battle of Minds alumni, but I was involved in overseeing a lot of Battle of Minds. One of the ones we keep evolving this. Like I said, there was a year when we actually had 10 restaurants, 10 very famous restaurants in Dhaka, run by 10 teams for a week, right? And they got a real life experience of what a business is, what how do you spend the cash and how do you earn the cash, and how difficult it is to get customers, right? And how do you attract them? By using digital tools on social media. So
Wonderful.
yes, I mean, there is a lot of value that we can drive out of such competitions. So like we have Battle of Minds, there are many other competitions out there. There are specialized ones for digital solution providers. They're more like a hackathon, right? And there are some companies that are actually running hackathons. Many companies run hackathons internally, right? So you have a problem, you throw the problem at the group and you say, find me a solution. So people team up and they come up with their own ideas about what they're going to do, what is the digital solution, and they pitch back to the organization's leadership team. And a lot of companies do these hackathons externally. So they throw the problem statement out there and see how teams participate with these. And I think the more and more we have of this, the better we will develop as a country.
Wonderful. Um, this brings me to another topic. Just as we were discussing, skill. So having that right skill is also important, right? Where you need to adapt to this agile way of working, or when you're even trying to find yourself in this battle of mind, you know, you have to have the skill as well to deliver. Now, now, do you look at these graduates or this new people who are coming on board? Are you looking at them as upskilling them or reskilling them?
Uh, a very good question, Alba. I think, of course, it's upskilling. It is obviously upskilling. When we hire based on very simple thing. Our organization has a set of five ethos, right? We call them ethos. Those are the ways and the capabilities by which we work and the by which we live. And the ethos are bold, fast, empowered, responsible, and diverse. These are our five ethos. And when we are hiring people, we're looking for these five ethos in them, right? We assume that as they graduate and they join the workforce, they come up with a certain degree of technical skill. They come up with they're there with a certain degree of technical capability, knowledge, and experience. And we will take what we have and we will build that, right? So if you asked me 16 years ago, what would I have known about talent branding and acquisition, I would have known nothing. This organization taught me, right? And so I came in with a certain set of skills, the ability to understand the problem and find a solution, go through the logical process of it. I came in with a basic skill. How do I articulate what I want to do and get the approvals from the stakeholders? Those are the things I came with. Everything else was built by this organization. So when we're looking at it, we're looking for people who have the five ethos that we need as an organization, and the rest we will build once they join the organization. It's upskilling for us, not reskilling.
And how easy or how hard is it to find such five ethos present in the candidates?
Uh, I think the answer is I'll have to give it in a slightly different way. I think we enjoy being an employer of choice in Bangladesh, right? So honestly speaking, we get a lot of great candidates, a lot of great quality talent in BAT Bangladesh who have these demonstrate these very well, right? Clearly, I feel that the new generation that we hire is far superior and far more capable than we were when we were in their space. So we are very fortunate in that sense. The question, though, rather is, are there enough of them in the country for all of the organizations? I think that's where there is a bit of a gap because we see that, say I have a ratio of 2,000 applicants to one job post, right? So I obviously get the kind of talent that I need in Bangladesh. But there are many other organizations who are not fortunate enough to be able to get the talent that they need or the caliber of talent that they need. And I think that's where we can actually work with the academia in ensuring that the standard of education is more widely standardized rather than some places where you get a lot of good talent and other places where the skills are just not being built by the universities or just not being focused on them.
Excellent. This has been a fantastic discussion. Unfortunately, we don't have questions. It's only It's the World Cup euphoria has taken over. However, and Velar of Bangladesh is actually started to look into this partnership with certain universities, where we are also trying to sort of uh, uh, integrate with them, uh, even if we can try to uh, create 10 uh, this kind of mindsets in each university. And if it is 10 university, I'm looking at 100 candidates. So it's a baby start at the moment. We are still at the nascent stage. So I we hope that we'll be able to contribute in our way as well. But I can assure you this, that what you are doing, what BJTB is doing, is a remarkable as far as uh, building this kind of mindsets are concerned. I don't. There's a question here.
Mm. Yes, I think it's saying that I don't think. Sorry, it just went away before I could finish
Right.
reading it. If you could put it up, I'm just going to add. I think it's connected to the question that's there. Is if you look at it, there are 1.8 million graduates in Bangladesh every year. Al-Babai, all right, and 1.8 million graduates. But if you ask the top multinational organizations, they are fighting for the same 5,000 pi uh, around the year, right?
Correct.
So BAT, Grameenphone, Unilever, all of us are fighting for a pie of about 5 to 6,000 that is there that we're looking at. So if you ask me, uh, I think the potential is much bigger. If you have 1.8 million graduates, that's a huge number of graduates every year. You can actually create a massive impact if you can get to all of the universities out there and create a movement. Then I think we will really get a movement in this country.
Yes. Yes. I think it very well answers this question. That Thank you, Mr. Sharif bin Habib. So it's time to wrap up, Saad. We are going to actually, we have recorded this session. We are going to now transcript this session. This will also be uh, put up in our website, also on our YouTube, wellerofbangladesh.com. Do visit us, and we will be back, dear audience, next week, uh, Tuesday, with another session of Meet the Maestro, where we will bring another expert, just like we had today, Mr. Saad Jassim. Thank you so much, Saad, for being with us, and it was a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Albab Bhai and Valor of Bangladesh, for having me. And I hope the audience can take at least 1 or 2 points out of this that adds value to them.
Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Thank you from UCB presents Meet the Maestro, Velar of Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum.
So,